Hello and welcome. It is Thursday, November 26th, 2020, and this is Truly News. I am your host, Jason Van Sickle. As we begin this new day, let's start by increasing your knowledge and expanding your insights with a review of today's news. As always, we begin with a look at the top stories from around the country. And here are the stories that are leading today's news. Biden cautions as people travel, Trump pardons and mandates, Supreme Court rules, and COVID spreads. Biden addressed the nation yesterday asking people to take precautions to limit the spread of COVID during Thanksgiving. In the meantime, reports show many people traveling and planning family gatherings today despite the risk. As the Americans celebrate the national holiday today, some are concerned about losing their jobs under a Trump mandate. The executive order requires government agencies to reclassify career jobs in a way that removes their job protections and makes them vulnerable to political influence. Congress is now looking at ways to override the order. In other political news, the State Department officially recognized Biden's win, ordering staff to work with the incoming administration. At the same time, Trump used executive authority to pardon Michael Flynn, a friend and former aide who pled guilty to lying to the FBI. The other major legal development on Wednesday was the Supreme Court decision that said New York's limits on gathering as part of its coronavirus shutdown violated religious rights to worship. The decision was 5-4, with the new Justice Amy Coney Barrett casting the deciding vote in favor of religious rights. In COVID news, the United States is nearing 13 million cases of the coronavirus as the world passes 60 million. The hardest hit states, in order, have been New York, Texas, California, and Florida. The past 2 weeks saw many days of record highs in the U.S. as the country experienced 2 weeks with over 1 million cases per week. And that is your top news for today. Now, in our look beyond the main headlines, let's begin with the latest advances in science, technology, and space exploration. In science news, the sun sounds like it is about to become more active. New sunspots are likely to emerge today. Scientists who monitor the sun can tell when new sunspots are about to appear by listening to the sun's harmonics. The sound of the sun changes as sunspots begin to emerge. The spots are important because they are sources of mass ejections of solar flares from the sun. Those flares can raise radiation levels on Earth and interfere with electronics. In technology news, Amazon wins legal defense against eBay lawsuit. According to court filings on Tuesday, Amazon won a legal victory against eBay. A 2-year-old lawsuit was originally filed by eBay, who claimed that Amazon stole sellers by setting up fake seller accounts and using a messaging system to recruit eBay sellers. The legal panel reviewing the case said that eBay proved Amazon reached out to sellers but did not prove financial suffering based on the activity. In space news, the UAE joins many other countries now exploring space. Over the years, the United Arab Emirates has used its wealth to quietly build a space program. Its most recent mission is a Mars satellite, which will study the atmosphere and weather on Mars. The UAE is only one of many countries that are exploring space. In fact, on the way to Mars, the UAE spacecraft will cross paths with a European and Japanese spacecraft on a mission to study the planet Mercury. And that is your science, technology, and space news for today. Now we look at the latest in health, social, and environmental news. In health news, researchers estimate that mask wearing could save 130,000 lives. Research reported by the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington estimates that the COVID death toll could pass 470,000. That estimate is based on current trends, with the country reaching that number by March. However, those numbers could change if more actions are taken. The researchers note that 130,000 lives could be saved if 95% of people wore masks. In social news, people solidify their beliefs by seeking others who think the same way. In a new study presented by researchers from the Max Planck Institute for Human Development and the University of Amsterdam, research helps to explain how social interactions reinforce beliefs. Whether it is conspiracy theories or refusing to believe scientific insights, people's beliefs are strengthened by the fact that they interact with like-minded people and seek out online information that confirms their beliefs. In environmental news, the European Union makes new efforts to address climate change. The European Union is increasing its efforts to address climate change. The EU announced this week that it has set new 2030 standards for greenhouse emissions. The proposal will cut emissions by 55%, which is an increase from the original goal of 40%. The original goal is part of the Paris Climate Accord that other countries will still follow, but the United States withdrew from under Trump. And that is your health, social, and environmental news for today. Now it is time for our look at economic and world news. In economic news, jobless claims see a second straight week of increases. On Wednesday, the Department of Labor released the weekly jobless claims. The economic indicator represents the number of individuals who filed for unemployment benefits last week. 778,000 people filed. That was an increase from the previous week, and it was higher than economists expected. It was also the first time since July that the claims for first-time unemployment benefits rose for 2 weeks in a row. In world news, Wednesday was a day to recognize women affected by domestic violence. Wednesday was the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, and many around the world gathered to call for an end to domestic violence. Lockdowns due to COVID have shone a new light on the problem as women in abusive relationships found themselves trapped with their abusers. The United Nations reported that worldwide domestic violence has risen significantly during COVID. And that is your economic and world news for today. To wrap things up, we take a look at your entertainment options with newly released movies, shows, and books. In newly released movies, today's movie is Fat Man. To save his declining business, Kris Kringle, also known as Santa Claus, is forced into a partnership with the U.S. military. Fat Man is now for rent on various streaming services. In newly released shows, today's show is First Ladies. Robin Wright narrates profiles of First Ladies and how they were impacted by their time in the White House. Episodes of First Ladies is now showing on CNN. Finally, in entertainment news, our newly published book is The Truths That We Hold by Kamala Harris, a memoir by the daughter of immigrants who is now the Vice President-elect. This book is presently #1 on the New York Times paperback nonfiction bestseller list. And that is your entertainment news for today. As always, we end our podcast with Hope for Humanity, stories about the goodness and kindness that people show each other every day. And here is today's story. From Pagosa Springs, Colorado, an elementary school holds their annual celebration of kindness. At Pagosa Springs Elementary School in Pagosa Springs, Colorado, COVID is not stopping the teachers and kids from celebrating kindness. It is a tradition at the school to teach kindness, and that is especially important during a time where many people are frustrated and suffering from the difficulties caused by COVID. So, this week, teachers helped kids make posters with positive messages of encouragement, and they also took the time to simply talk to each other. Conversations among students included compliments and other small acts of kindness. And that is your news for November 26th, 2020. Happy Thanksgiving and have a wonderful day.